These are photographs of you, but they're not for you. They're for your clients. They're for your clients who you've never met before, who need to meet you and understand who you are and how confident you are and how approachable you are in these portraits.
Workflows is a podcast about saving you time and money in your photography business. I'm your host, Scott Wyden Kivowitz, a photographer and content creator who struggles with dyslexia, color blindness, introversion, and anxiety stemming from years of being bullied as a child. Guess what? Workflows have been my rock. I have workflows for every aspect of my life. That's why I am so happy to bring you Workflows, a podcast presented by Imagen. As a company dedicated to saving you time and money in your photography business, it makes sense to enhance and expand the conversation to all things workflows. Tune in and subscribe to hear stories, strategies, and tools that can be your rock. Hear from people just like you. Get to work with Workflows. Seshu is a headshot photographer from Connecticut, known for his knack in capturing the friendly essence of professionals through his lens. With a warm approach, he ensures his subjects are at ease, even amidst the studio lights, making every photo session a comfortable experience. The journey began in 2009 with Connecticut Headshots, initiated through a humble Twitter campaign. Now, Seshu is the go-to photographer for small business owners, executives, actors, and healthcare professionals keen on distinguishing themselves in their field. Residing in Avon, Connecticut with his family, he continues to make people look their relaxed best, one headshot at a time. This episode is a special one to me, as Seshu is a dear friend of mine and happened to be the photographer that my wife and I hired to photograph our engagement photos many years ago. Without further ado, here's my conversation with my friend, Seshu. Welcome, Seshu. It's so nice to see your face. It's been too long. So
It has.
yeah, I'm so glad we're able to make this work. So you have done many things over the years. You have done weddings. You have done engagement sessions, which I am honored to have been one of those clients. You have done sports photography. You have done, of course, headshots. You have also ran a sort of photography media site over the years, which, is now possibly being sunset. We'll see where it goes. But
Yeah.
What we're going to be talking about today, I'm really excited about because it's something that I've always enjoyed over the years, and that is headshots. And we're going to dig into your headshot workflows. So,
Love it.
yeah. The first question I ask every guest is, what is one thing you do for the photographic process that has saved you time? This is the part behind the camera. You're looking through the camera or you're setting up your sets. What is one thing you do during that part of your workflow that saves you time overall?
So that's a great question. I would say before I get to the gear, get to my lights, get to the backgrounds, I sit and talk to my clients, be able to talk to them and get an understanding as to what they're hoping to achieve with their headshots. So once they're clear on what they want, then I can set up the lights accordingly, right? So most of the lighting that I do is pretty much of a 1 or 2 light setup. So I set the lights up first, make sure things are, my client is lit properly. But even peeling back before the client even arrives, I would say I check for things like, is my ISO set to the right ISO? Is my white balance set to the white balance? Is my shutter speed set? Are my flashes firing? Things like that. Essentially the very basic mechanics of photography, because I don't want it to be where the client walks in and I'm starting to figure all that out in front of them. So those are the first things I take care of.
So I have 2 questions regarding this. So you said in many cases you're using 1 light or 2 lights, let's say.
Yeah.
Are you using a lot of reflectors or any like V flats or type of things? Like, what are you? Just to get a little nerdy on the photo gear, how does that work when you're using such minimal lighting?
So I do use a reflector usually from the bottom, and there's one main light, one reflector in the bottom, and a secondary light, usually from the back or as a hair light,
Hmm.
typically, and possibly a third light for the background itself. If the
Hmm.
background needs to be lit, maybe the background gets a light as well. So maybe two to
Nice.
three lights, ideally.
And if you had to give a percentage of how many of your headshot clients are asking for studio style versus environmental where they work versus outdoor, how would you break that down?
I would say a majority are still coming into my home studio. So I would like that to be more 50-50 because I love working with people on site. The
Hmm.
environmental portraits are my most challenging because there are more factors to deal with
Yeah.
than the lights I have here, which I can
Right.
control, right? I can turn them
Right.
on, turn them off, in an office setting or even outdoors, when there are no lights, but you bring your own, you have to deal with the weather. You have to deal with
Hmm.
whether it's going to rain or it's going to be windy or whatever. Um, I typically don't work with assistants, so I'm doing everything by myself. And so if I have to set up everything, I have to bring more gear on site. It just takes a little bit longer in terms of time, but it's definitely doable. And
Yeah.
yeah, it would be great if it was a 50-50 mix. It's more like a 90% in studio and maybe 10% on location, kind of a thing.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely the in studio stuff's always fun, of course. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like all headshots are fun. But once you get to go to where the person like is working day in, day out, and you really get to see what they're involved in, that's where it gets exciting and super challenging because like you
Hmm.
said, you've got there's the chance of them having a mixture of tungsten, daylight, and fluorescent is pretty high.
Yeah.
So you've got a
Yeah.
lot, a lot of,
Yeah.
lot of work with.
And here's the
Um,
thing. Here's the thing, Scott.
yeah,
You can ask the client, "Hey, what kind of lighting do you have?"
they
And
don't know.
they have like, you know,
They
they're
don't
like,
know.
it's a beautifully lit office space.
Yeah,
And then of
yeah,
course there's surprises waiting for you when you get there. So
yep, 100%,
yeah.
100%. Let's move into the business side of things now. What is one thing you do for the business that either saves you time or money?
Wow. Saves me time. I would say really communicating clearly with your clients ahead of time, and maybe even multiple times before they arrive for their session is key. I think that clarity of communication has helped me save time, and it has made me money because of folks who understand that they're getting clear directions from a photographer are a little bit more comfortable with you, working with you, and even trusting you with not just the photos you're making, but
Mhm.
with the way you're going to handle them after the fact, right? After the photographs are
Yeah.
delivered to them, they know they're going to be taken care of. So there's a sense of comfort that comes from being able to receive a short list of, hey, bring this, prepare to drink water, or get a good night's rest or something to that effect, because people don't know. I've had people
Yeah.
walk in with um, sunburns and things like that, and that's was before I began communicating with them, and they
Mm.
just arrived. They were like, "Why get a picture taken of me? It doesn't matter, right?" But I have to tell them those things are important, like because those things
Yeah.
cannot be usually taken care of by a retoucher, and so I have to walk them through with clear communication. So that saved me time and saved them time as well,
Yeah.
and then I'm making more money because of that too.
Yeah. There's a trend going on here in this episode, and that is communication, right? So you're already talking about communication
Sure.
from the photographic side,
Absolutely.
making sure that the background,
Yeah.
is going to be appropriate for what they're looking for, and potentially
Yeah.
what they wear doesn't, conflict with the background or make them blend in.
Absolutely.
Right? Versus, hey, I got a sunburn, do I need to rebook this session? Now I just lost money, right? So,
Well, no, well, rebooking just means they get to come back and we get to work together again. I don't see it as a loss of revenue because they've already paid for the session. It's just that they have to just come back when they don't have a sunburn anymore. So that's definitely doable. But the rest of the things you mentioned, like the outfits, bringing outfits, talking to them about what outfits are going to make them look good. Most people walk in initially, again, when I wasn't giving people the kind of communication, they would just walk in with whatever they thought was the best. And it was only one outfit. And now in my communication, I say, please bring somewhere between 3 to 7 different outfits. We're not going to go through all 7 outfits, because that's the first worry is like, oh my God, we're going to get photographed in like 7 outfits. No, you're not. It is about having those options in your studio so that in my studio, so that you can say, hey, okay, this worked, this didn't work. We'll set it aside. It's okay. There's no pressure to wear every single outfit or pressure to buy every single photograph taken in every single outfit either. So yeah.
Awesome. Let's move into the editing side of things. As a headshot photographer, you're not doing, for each client specifically, you're not doing high volumes. If you're doing one corporation and doing all their C-level, sure, maybe at that point you've got high volume, right? Just because the sheer number of C-level people there might be, and how big the corporation is. If you've got, I know I did a C-level session for a pretty big corporation. It was like 22 C-levels, and I spent the entire day and I walked away with thousands of headshots to have to go through, right?
Sure.
But your typical headshot, you've got a very unique situation as where how you want to cull, how you want to edit. So in that case, what is one thing you do for editing that has saved you time?
I think the way I'm going to answer that is that you have to get your lighting right. I think that's your first step. If you have your lighting right, your editing is going to go much faster, much better. Obviously, make sure your images are sharp, your exposures are great to begin with, and the editing is left to a real minimum in terms of cleaning up the backgrounds, or if it's a high school senior, it could be skin issues, or if it's a woman with long hair on a summer day and it's flyaway season, we got to take care of that, right? Those are things that my retoucher handles, and I sort of pass it off to him to take care of for me. So, but most of the things I take care of are the details which are in front of me right there, which I can't control. Things like your collar's off, or could be the way they're parting their hair and it's all wrong, or they have glasses they have lenses in their glasses, and I say, hey, those lenses aren't really working out. Can you pop them off? Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. And if they can't, I just say, take your glasses off. We'll just photograph you without your glasses. That's doable as well. So those kinds of things are part of the edit in a way, because ultimately I'm trying to deliver the very best photograph for my clients, and each one of those things could be distracting in the end. And I feel like if I can help them lessen those distractions in the photos, there's less and less editing to do in the first place.
True.
So,
I think you also, you subtly hinted to another thing that you're doing, which is outsourcing the retouching, so that you don't have to do it yourself. So you don't have to take your time. You're in addition to ensuring you're getting the best possible image in camera to do less editing on your part, you're not doing the I'm going to say, because I hate doing it, the more annoying parts of the flyaways and the skin blemishes and stuff. I don't enjoy doing that part. So then to me, it's annoying. So you outsourcing it is a very, very smart thing to get it off your plate.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it hasn't come easy. I mean, it comes at a cost. I'll be honest with you.
Yes, of course.
It's not inexpensive, but
Yep.
at the same time, I'm able to pass that off to my clients to carry on, and they're paying for it in a way,
Hmm.
and I feel that it has allowed me a greater opportunity to go out and network if I want to go out and network or market my company. If I want to do that, it allows me to do all the other things like building a business versus sitting there thinking, someone's hair is off kilter in one frame or the other.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me money. What makes me money is, of course, bringing in more business. So,
Yep.
that's really the short end of that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is what one of the benefits that Imagine customers are getting out of using Imagine is they're sending off their photos to have those tedious mundane edits done by Imagine. They get it back, and now they can during that time that 8 to 12 hours they might have been editing a portrait session or a wedding or a sports game or whatever it is. During that time, they could be booking more clients. They could be taking a nap. They could be doing whatever it is that they want to be doing, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah,
so yeah,
I think tools like Imagine are more important for our industry because it saves us time. Because
yeah,
it saves us time and also is able to produce a beautiful product in the end. You know what I mean? I think it's a
yeah,
twofer. You know,
yeah,
and I think full disclosure here, I have not used Imagen, and I would love to, but I don't know whether for a volume set of 200-300 photographs it makes sense, especially when my clients are selecting somewhere between 6 to 8 photographs
right,
in their session at the end of their session, and that I'm sending off to my retoucher. So a lot of the culling is done sort of on site, and then obviously the editing is done by a retoucher. So, but for a wedding photographer, for a sports photographer, someone who goes to photograph a football game or a soccer match or a baseball game, with thousands of photographs. Oh my God, yeah, I'm sure it's a huge time saver
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. So we talked about photographic process. We talked about business. We talked about editing. Let's talk a bit about what you do after the session. So we know, you and I know, I don't know if the listeners know, but you and I know headshots have a very specific structure to selling them, to the pricing,
Yeah.
to the sort of the IPS aspect of headshots. So what do you do? What is one thing that you do after the session that has increased business?
Oh, I love this question because when somebody walks in the door looking for your help, and you just photograph them and put their photographs on an online gallery and say good luck, make choices, that's in my opinion a disservice because number one, they're not photographers, they don't know what to look for, right? They may have an inkling, but they don't have the way I'm looking at the photographs, and my guidance is missing. So when I finish up working with a client, I have them pretty much hovering over my laptop, and we're making decisions based on expression, lighting, and anything else that sort of strikes them as, hey, that's a great photograph, right? We mark the ones we like, and I say we because I am marking it as I go along, as I'm seeing those photographs pop up on my computer. I'm showing them or guiding them or telling my clients who are standing next to me exactly what it is that is resonating back to me, right? And having not met my clients before, I am that third party in the world that they're really making these photographs for. So I tell them very candidly, I say, these are photographs of you, but they're not for you. They're for your clients. They're for your clients who you have never met before, who need to meet you and understand who you are and how confident you are and how approachable you are in these portraits. So that when they feel that vibe, that they can trust you, they'll pick up the phone and call you. And that is usually what really sort of turns the light bulb on for a lot of my clients. They go, yeah, that's what I want. And they're not going to get that if they see those photographs on in an online gallery where they have no guidance, right? So
Yeah.
I'm there standing next to them, guiding them, figuring out exactly which set of photographs really evoke that kind of a response in what they're both seeing, right?
Yeah.
Once they've made their choices, those go to my retoucher. Simple as that.
Awesome. I need to grab something because this next part.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is something I do for every guest. Well, started doing it in season 2. Pick a color.
Let's go with the orange.
All right. Okay, I'm going to start flipping through these, and you just tell me when to stop.
Okay, go ahead. Stop.
Okay. This is my favorite part. I love this part because I have no idea what I'm about to ask you until right now. Okay, well you got some kids, so this is gonna be a good one.
Okay, yeah.
Which celebrity do you think is a positive role model for kids today?
Oh boy.
I know what I would answer for my daughter. I don't know who I would answer for my son. So I'm gonna be curious what you're gonna answer.
Both my kids are, I mean, my boys, they love sports and love the NFL. One of them is a Patriots fan, so I would say Tom Brady for him. The other one happens to be a Seahawks fan. I don't know why or how, but I know, right? Just random. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot of people on that team, unfortunately. But I would say somebody who is sports related, who's doing positive things in the community. That kind of person is usually somebody that probably be an inspiration for my kids.
I mean, I would imagine that your son who likes the Seahawks probably has some good respect and appreciation for what Tom Brady does. I would imagine so.
Unless they're
Someone's
playing
gotta. He has to. He can't hate him that much.
Well, unless they're the Patriots are playing the Seahawks in some random way, which has happened in the past, but there was, trust me, there's a lot of drama at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think from a very sort of sports perspective, yeah, there's definitely respect for somebody who's done something consistently well, who's delivered on. Just delivered on a mission, really, who's said, I'm going to commit myself to doing this and do it well.
Yeah.
So that's commendable.
Yeah, definitely. All right. This is the sort of dig deep part of the show where I ask you to look down at your business from the 30,000-foot view down. And if you can please share an outline breakdown of your workflow from lead to delivery.
So a client usually connects with me through LinkedIn or has found me through Google, doing a Google search, and either contacts me through my website or picks up the phone and calls me directly and says, I'm looking for headshots. Can you help me? So we have a conversation. It has to start with that. It has to start with a conversation. I usually send an email back or a text back and say, hey, let's have a short, brief conversation so I get to understand what it is that you're trying to do and why. Why is it important for you to have headshots at this point in time? I'll give you a quick example. Just last week, I had a senior vice president of a healthcare company contact me, and he contacted me, and then he passed it off to the marketing person at his company to just sort of finish the deal in a way, to schedule his session and to buy the portraits and things like that. But his thing was he was receiving an award, and he needed something that was representative of his of his role in the company, essentially. So I got him into my studio, scheduled the event, scheduled the session. He came in, we worked together. He, as I've described already, we've gone through the photo session. We've made all the choices based on the outfits and things like that. And the photos are now with the retoucher. Essentially, that's where it is. I mean, so once the images have been selected, I have marked them, I've labeled them, pushed them into a folder that's specific to the retoucher. The retoucher takes over and starts the process based on my notes. And each photograph, each frame that is ordered is in detail explained as to what it is that I'm trying to get retouched. Without that explanation, my retoucher does the basics, of course, but if there's, a button that's too shiny or something like that needs to be taken out, or, we need to darken the buttons up a little bit, I need to tell him that. He's not going to read my mind, right? So being able to communicate that, I mean, whether it's a client or the retoucher, you have to communicate. You have to get on there and start writing what you're thinking, because otherwise nothing gets done. Nothing gets done well.
Do you ever mark up the photos like it was like a contact print? You do?
Yeah, I take it into Photoshop, like, especially if it's specific things that my client has described to me as, bothersome. Like just a few days ago, I photographed a gentleman who had been in a car accident, had a scar on his the top of his head, and usually I didn't really want to bring it up, but I did bring it up during the conversation. And he goes, I really don't like that scar. It reminds me of some really bad times. I said, we'll take it out.
Interesting. Yeah.
So having conversations and communicating is like such a big part of this business that I'm still learning how to do it. I'm not like, I'm not at a point where I can say I haven't done any I haven't made any mistakes, but I feel like it's gotten better and better and better as you start to just put yourself out there and ask questions. Because once you ask questions, in my mind at least, you're coming from a great place of help and service, and that person who you're asking the questions to understands that eventually. You're not being nosy, you're actually asking questions so that you can help them better.
Right.
So the images are marked up. Sometimes I put red marks on them or red arrows on them using Photoshop, and I usually add a reference file to the other photo, the original raw photograph that I delivered to my retoucher, and he understands exactly what needs to be done and sends them back to me using Dropbox. And I get a confirmation that says, "Hey, you've got new photographs to look at." And here's the beautiful thing: with my retoucher, at least, I'm able to go back to him and say, "Hey, some things are off here. Can we continue to work on this a little bit?" He is so good at, again, listening to what my needs are, and just a hat tip to him. He is his attitude is that of a team player. Okay, so when he's not just some vendor that I push photos out to and takes care of them, he actually listens to what I have to say or ask of him, and responds ultimately by saying, "Yeah, I can do it," or "So sorry, I can't. This is a little out of my range," kind of thing.
Yeah. He's portraying himself as part of your business, not as a
right.
Yeah.
And so really, I do have to thank him for also the growth of my business, because once you start working with somebody like that, and he's consistently helping you, produce these portraits, the audience sees that you're also consistent. You're also being able to do this without, your colors being all over the place or anything like that. So ultimately, the photographs are retouched, delivered to me. I look at them, make sure that they are of the same quality that I would hoped my client would receive. So there's a quality check, and then I resize them for their use. I resize them for web use, or I resize them for print use, or whatever it is that they need them for. I really want to get that go that extra mile, make sure the photographs are usable right away. I don't want my client to go, "They're so big, I can't do anything with them. I can't put them on LinkedIn." I don't want to hear those things, because the more quickly my client uses those photographs, the more quickly they can start to see an impact that they can make in their clients' lives as well.
Right.
Ultimately, that's the goal. And I tell people this all the time. I really do feel headshots are the first bridge to a client's life. You're extending a bridge out to your clients, and the client goes, "Yeah, I want to climb onto that bridge and come and meet you halfway. Let's do business." And that is through the headshot, really, because it is the first thing that people are seeing.
Yep, for sure. Years ago, I know that we both purchased Tony Taft's headshots course, right? His the business, what do they call it? TT method, right? No, that's what it's called. TNT. Yeah. Are you still using stuff you learned from his course in your business today?
Most definitely.
Cool.
Most definitely.
So I don't think that a lot of the listeners, because a lot of Imagine customers, a lot of the community, they are more high volume, right? Photographers. So could you talk a little bit about the pricing? You don't have to share your exact numbers, but like because it works different for headshots than it does in this method. It works different for headshots than it does for, let's say, an engagement session, right? Can you talk a little bit about like the structure of how the pricing works for your headshots? Again, you don't have to give exact numbers, but like in general.
Well, generally, or even the specifics are. I mean, I don't want to go into the mechanics of what he teaches because that's proprietary to him.
Yep.
But I can say generally what I do, having used his approach, is there's a flat fee for the session, and that just covers my time, my ability to coach my clients in a way that is going to produce the work that they are going to enjoy seeing of themselves, and also their clients are going to be able to connect with as well. And on the back end of it is the idea that the photographs can be ordered individually. Essentially, there's a flat fee that covers them for multiple outfits, multiple backgrounds. Really just a fee that just sort of covers everything. Really. There's no surprises. Hey, surprise! You've changed your outfit. We're gonna add another $50 to the session. None of that stuff. We want to be able to just say, come in, work together. What you end up ordering at the tail end of that session is up to you. So, and that is priced individually. And those are typically things, and that's based on the person's ability to pay or the desire to pay too. If you see 20 photographs that they've never seen of themselves in multiple outfits, I'm not going to say, no, you said on the phone you only wanted one. I'm going to give you only one,
Right.
So the method, I guess, the genius of the method, I think, would be to say it allows clients the ability to purchase as many photographs as they want, which is how a business grows, being able to produce work that's good. And the client is given the final say in how many photographs they want. There's no commitment to just 1 or 5 or 10 or whatever.
By the way, when I do headshots, I use the same system. I love it. I think it definitely makes the process more enjoyable on both sides.
Right.
And especially you have to of course put that up front, because it's not as we said, it's not a common thing for photographers in general to do this method. So,
if I can say one thing, when I first started as a headshot photographer, I remember I believe I was charging $150, and it was for a 30-minute session, and it was for one digital file, right? I can't believe I did that. To be honest with you,
I mean, been there, done that.
Yeah. The reason is because that 30 minutes would always morph into an hour or an hour and 15, and I'd be like, yeah, it's cool, we're having fun, let's keep going. Now I do charge a premium for my time, but it is unlimited in terms of how many outfits and how many backgrounds they're photographed in.
Yeah.
But it's usually I sense, when their energy level starts to dip in about the 90-minute mark, I know I have to start wrapping it up. And usually I give each of my clients a 2-hour window to work it, and we get it done. Honestly, that's
amazing.
It's been going really, really well. So
yeah, it's been really fun to watch that part of your business grow over the years. It's been a lot of fun because I remember when that, you were doing headshots, but like that brand didn't exist. So it was nice to see, it come to fruition and then just grow. Just to tie things in a little bit, where this the structure of you've got your flat rate, and then you are charging really what your client wants to buy, right? This pay per image type of thing, which is also how people get started with Imagen, right? So at Imagen, we've everybody comes on immediately as a pay as you go. You pay for only what you need. We do have annual plans, but for the most part, the comfort level of where everybody wants is per image. So for high volume, super high volume, like wedding companies who are doing, 30, 40, 50, yes, there are annual plans to help with that. But for the people like who are headshots or, family sessions or anything that's more lower volume, that's where the pay as you go is really, really, really handy. So with that said, you are currently not using AI in your business, and I think it's interesting. But I know you're exploring the options that are out there. You're looking at like what could help with your headshot business. I'm curious, as somebody who is starting to look into that process, as somebody who is interested in taking advantage of what's out there, what does the future of AI in photography look like to you?
Wow, that is a tough question, man. I think there's gonna be. I know what I would be comfortable with. I can tell you that much. I don't know what the future is gonna be like. I mean, that's hard to say. I feel like I'm already seeing the incorporation of AI in photographs. That's not news to anybody now. If you look at photographs that are on Facebook or wherever, really, you are starting to see elements of AI, whether it's dropping in skies or adding, really other elements that weren't even in the photograph at the beginning with, like snowflakes and all kinds of cool things are out there. Is that for me? I don't know. I don't know where that's going to go. I know there was another wonderful photographer, Gary Hughes, who wrote an article recently about using AI, and I know he uses it to some extent to drop in backgrounds that his clients haven't been photographed in, but now can be easily dropped into.
Right.
So that may be the way I go. I may go to an office space because the client says, "Hey, we want to have 20 people photographed in this office space, but everyone's going to be busy from 9 to 5. When can I get this place empty, right, in the background? I can't. I'd have to go in at 8 o'clock in the morning, get one nice sort of template frame, and then start dropping people onto it, later on. That's possibly where I go with headshots. If clients really are starting to ask for that. I don't know if I answered your question, Scott.
No, I think it's good. As you're talking, it made me think, like, so Photoshop's generative AI that's now built into Photoshop has a lot of capabilities like what you just mentioning, replacing the background with whatever you can think of and type in a prompt.
Sure.
But one area where it could be useful for you at some point is, let's say you have a client come and they say, I brought the yellow shirt, but I really wish I had the pink one. And now in Photoshop, you can literally select the shirt and be like, make it a pink shirt. And now it goes from yellow to pink, and you didn't have to do a thing. Like, you literally didn't have to like select the shirt
Yeah.
perfectly. It just did it. So I think, I think for headshots specifically, like, there's a lot that's going to be coming for sure.
I think commercial applications are definitely, I can see that being used in a great way. Like you mentioned, moving things in and out of frame, or adding color or texture, or,
Yeah.
just being able to tell a different story based on what the main subject is in the frame. We can definitely do kind of all those fun things. And maybe those are things that are what artists are doing at the moment with things like Midjourney or all the other tools that are out there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Is, like, number one is, can you commercialize it? Number two is, can you copyright it?
Right.
The answer is no to both of those right now. Right. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. There is that.
I don't know where I'm going with that, but I feel like from a headshot perspective, I'm going to focus on being able to work with clients one-on-one, be able to get expressions that are honest and authentic to them, and not mess with that, because I feel like that's important. At least for my clients, and right now, that's super important. They don't want to see themselves in, situations where they've never been in, as options. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I think like and Gary, you brought Gary up. He's done some videos on the professionalheadshots.com or whatever it is, like where it's AI generated full top to bottom headshot, right? And I think we're already seeing people utilizing it, right, and skipping the human photographer. But I do think that there will always be the person who appreciates that personal touch, that one-on-one, that relationship that they've built, and the creativity that you get from an actual person over an AI fully generated thing. I think that will always exist. So I'm glad that you're looking to utilize it more for your work, not to replace yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're looking to potentially enhance your work, not take it over with pure AI. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you can. That's a safe bet. I mean, I can think of one family session where I photographed a family outdoors, and there was no sky to speak of, really. And I dropped in a sky using one of these tools, and it looks great. And they bought multiple prints, and I'm not looking at myself and going, "Oh, that's not true. It wasn't." The folks, I didn't change anything about the people in the photograph. That's where I think I draw the line. It's like when I start working with people, I don't want them looking at any different from they were when I first photographed them. I think that's important to me.
Yeah.
But there's so many variations to this debate. Working, even introducing the photograph in Photoshop and processing it through one platform or another changes the reality of it, right? So, where are we going to go with this? Really, where are we going to be most comfortable or uncomfortable? Essentially,
Right.
Where's that line? Where are we drawing that line?
And I think that line is basically figuring out what you're comfortable with and what your clients are comfortable with, and that clears it up at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So everybody will have their own line. It's just a matter of figuring out what your own line is.
There you go. Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you, Seshu, for hopping on with me for this awesome chat. Where can listeners learn more about you, connect with you, and of course, see your incredible headshot photography?
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity again for speaking with you. We've done this many times before.
We have on different podcasts.
I
Yours,
know, right?
mine.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about workflow and how important it is to get communication right from the very first step that you're working with clients. ConnecticutHeadshots.com is my website. Connecticut is all spelled out. I know it's a long state name, but Type it out, folks. It's not that difficult. And I'm online on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. Come and connect with me. Happy to be of service to any of you. Really, if you are in Connecticut or in the nearby states and you need a headshot, give me a call.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for this awesome conversation, Seshu. I know that so many headshot photographers are just got their brains turning and the wheels moving, and they've got lots of new takeaways to put into action. This is very, very exciting, I am sure, for all of them. You have been listening to Workflows, presented by Imagen. To hear more from Workflows, to find links to our guests, and for an exclusive offer for Workflows listeners, please go to imagen-ai.com/podcast and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.